quick overview, we're looking at the Serial Sales Workbook. On the last sheet that we're on, sheet 5 has the overall totals, which is supposed to be from sheet 4, Arizona sales for our cereals, loops, crunch, charms, and fiber. Also for New York, sheet 2 has Utah, and sheet 1 has California. What I want to do is, so I can identify these a bit easier, is to name the sheets, so I'm not guessing which sheet I'm clicking on for Utah. So this one's going to be the overall. There's two ways I can rename this sheet 5 to overall. I can either double click really fast. If you're good at double clicking, it highlights the sheet and then I can type in overall, or I can hit escape and then start over and right click and then left click on rename, in which case when you left click it highlights it again. So whatever works for you, and then just start typing. When you're finished, hit enter and it solidifies. And then I'm going to do that for each sheet, is the abbreviations. Also, if there's a particular reason that I want to focus on a sheet, maybe Utah sales are really terrible in sugar, maybe fiber is the only thing. In any case, if our sales are down in Utah, I can right click the tab and choose a tab color, and this is subjective, it's for however you want to use it, and say, well, this is not a good thing, it's red for alert, and then click off. You can see it's in red. Whenever I click on it, it underlines Utah in red, and I can also right click and do other colors. Now if we need to move these worksheets around, for example, we've got Utah, maybe we want them alphabetized, you can simply click on the ear of this worksheet and drag it, or the tab, and you can see that little black arrow pointing down. It's very tiny. When you let go, it puts it right there. So clicking and dragging is one way of doing it. Another way is right-clicking on the tab and select Move or Copy. And right now, we simply want to move it. And what do we want to move? Let me move this out of the way here. We want to move Utah, which is the one that we have selected. And where do we want to put it? Do we want to put it before New York, which it'll place it between California and New York? Simply click OK and it puts it right there. You can also right-click and select Move or Copy and say you want to create a copy of California. Maybe our cells are now in North Dakota. So I can create a copy of California, and it's going to put it right before California, and click OK. Also, I can right-click Utah and go to Move or Copy and create a copy of Utah, and say we want to put it before Utah, so it'll bump it right in front of it between California and Utah, and then click OK. Creates a copy of it, calls it Utah 2. Maybe instead we wanted to create a copy of it but not have it be Utah and have it North Dakota. And then up at the top, also type in North. And then, delete the numbers here, make any changes that we need to. If you made the mistake and you didn't mean to put in North Dakota, you can always, when in doubt, right-click and select Delete. Also, you can select multiple sheets here to delete them all at once if you'd like by holding down the Shift key. So maybe Utah through New York, holding down the Shift selects both, and I can right-click to delete both. And it's going to say permanently, so there is no undo. So I'll click Cancel here. I can also click and drag, and you can see how it has multiple pages there. Instead of one sheet, I'm dragging two sheets. So when I let go, it's going to be right after Arizona, Utah, and New York. You can also make copies by holding down the Control key and clicking and dragging on the tab, and you see that little plus sign in the middle of the sheet. When I let go, it goes to Utah 2, and I'll delete it. You can also insert new sheets if you don't want to create a copy of it, a blank sheet. Right click and left click on Insert. It's going to pull up your templates here because a blank worksheet is a template. It's blank. You can select it and then click OK, and you've got sheet 1. And then finally, with moving or copying, I right-clicked on the New York, and I can move or copy. Let's say this time, instead of keeping it within this workbook, I can click on the drop-down arrow and say I want to move this New York to a complete new workbook. So a couple things are going to happen. The moment I click OK, New York is no longer going to be in this serial sales workbook, as you can see in the title up at the top. It'll create a new generic workbook. It'll have the New York sales in there. Also, if I had other workbooks open, they'd be listed in here, and I can select them to move them to that workbook as well. But right now I'm going to leave it as new, and then click OK. Automatically, boom, I'm right in there. You didn't even see it probably. But there's New York. Here's the workbook 2. I can click Save and type in, this is sales for cereal New York, and then click Save. Close out of that. My original workbook is still open because I didn't close it. I can also right click and move or copy, and if I wanted to move it, let's say to another workbook just like I did before, or a new workbook, remember I have to have that other workbook open. Let's say that I actually want to move Utah to the New York cells for whatever reason. We'll do File to Open and double click on Serial New York. Now it opens. I have two workbooks that are open, and you can go into the Windows menu and it shows right here. There's Sales Workbook and there's the Serial Sales Workbook, and I can click on 2 and I can go back to 1 for New York. Now that I have them both open, I want to go back to the Serial Sales because I want to right click and move or copy. Let's do this. Instead of moving Utah completely out of this workbook to New York, let's select Create a Copy and let's choose that workbook, New York. Do I want to move it before New York or move it to the end? Click OK. Automatically pulls me right to the cells for Serial New York, and it moved it right to the end. Now if I close out of this, and yes, I can save it, it pulls me right back here. My Utah worksheet is still there as well in the Serial Sales Workbook. Now I want to link my worksheets because on the Overall tab it's trying to pull information from all three cells from California, Arizona, and Utah. And if I make changes and move things out, well, first we'll want to link them, and then I'll explain how you want to be careful when you make your changes. For example, the new totals need to be out, so I'll delete them here. And then what I want to do is that anytime you want to link information from another workbook or a worksheet, it's always hit the equals on the keyboard. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go click on the California tab, click in the quarter 1 because again this is all based upon Loop's quarter 1 sales for California. Then hit the plus sign and I'm going to go down to Arizona. Click on Loop's quarter 1 for Arizona, hit the plus sign, and you can see up in the formula bar it's starting to type in the formula. It has the CA for California, that's the name of the worksheet, and it has the exclamation mark, the operator here, that says that this is a worksheet, and within the California worksheet what comes after it is cell B4, and notice they're all in B4. And then I have that plus sign here, so I'll go to Utah now and click in there and I'm done. I don't want to add another plus sign because this is the end of my formula. And then hit enter, it gives me the total of 700. When I click on it, I can look up in the formula bar and it's pulling from all those worksheets. So it's linked. If I announce it's 700, for example, if I go to Utah and I say it's not 400, it's 600, then it ought to be back to 900 here, and it links up. Perfect. When I make changes as far as updating Utah and Arizona sales, it'll reflect in my overall sales here. In fact, now that you're done, you could simply autofill, but let's do one more. Now for this link, it's going to be a little bit faster. What I want to do is instead of clicking on each one, because if I have a lot of worksheets down at the bottom, instead I'm going to hit the equal sign and type in the word sum. It's my function here in the formula, if you remember from our earlier video trainer. And then I want to open parentheses. Now after I type in equal sum open parentheses, I can click on the California tab, click in quarter 2, then hold down the shift key and click on the last tab that I want to add the totals up for that range. So hold down the shift, click on Utah, you see it puts them all in white, and you can see up on the formula toolbar it says it's going to take this function, the sum function of California, there's the colon through Utah, and that includes Arizona, and it's all going to be from the cell C4 on each worksheet. Hit enter, and perfect, it pulls it in, the total of 2100. Let's see if it works. I go to Arizona, and instead of 500 I type in 100. And so instead of 2100, it's going to be a lot less, 1700. So it works with the links. And then simply autofill over to the right. And then if I want to autofill down, I'll select all of these and then click and drag the black autofill handle down. And it updates everything. Now I want to give you a warning here. If you do decide to use the sum to do a quick summation of all your tabs, I would advise not moving them around. For example here, in the first cell we had it do a simple formula, plus Arizona plus Utah. Then over here we had it California through Utah. Now right now Arizona is between California and Utah. So let's take a look. So we have 900 here for overall, but that has a different formula. This one is going through Arizona. It's at 1700. So if I click and drag Arizona, so now it's California through Utah, but Arizona's not in between, so my overall is no longer 1700, it's 1600. because it no longer sees it through. It's still 900 here because it can still detect wherever it's at moved around in the worksheet. It'll still find Arizona because it's looking for the name of the tab AZ. So if we made a mistake, let's see what happens if we move Arizona back in between them and click on our overall. It's back up to 1700 because now it sees it. California through Utah and Arizona's in between. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, as soon as I upload a new video, you'll be notified instantly, and you can do that by coming over here and clicking on my face. You can also click here to support me, so for $2 a month, you can have access to over 2,700 training videos, all ad-free, and for a few bucks more, you can have access to my exercises, instructor notes, quizzes, certificate of completion, and a whole lot more.